Hello there, this is Cookies. I have turn 35 of Asphodel. We did get a message from Pythium. So he's going all in on his cap defense, which you do love to see. We find a magic site. This is one of the worst magic sites in the game. It just lets you recruit cavemen. You don't even get to recruit the commanders for them. And you don't get any gems. It's just a terrible site, and I frequently get it in provinces that already have caveman PD, so it just doesn't do anything. All right, I believe it gives you 40 supply points. And then we have our Storming of Agartha, so we'll go ahead and get straight into it. So we've got the Grand Army of Asphodel. You can kind of see our deployment here. We still have flankers in case they sallied again. We've got a little bit of an HP sink in the back with the Harpy mannequins. The Carrion Furies, they do have a faster move speed, so they will filter through. But I'm hoping a lot of the magma bolts will target this line of mannequins, which is a little bit of a sad way to use the higher quality mannequins, but I need to get their mages exhausted. And I'm hoping this will maybe draw some of the fire away from the Carrion Behemoths. I'm hoping we'll kill most of these defenders of the hall. And then we have a bunch of ancient stone hurlers that we got to worry about because they have unlimited ammo and they throw 30 damage boulders. They are going to be horrendous to deal with. Additionally, Mullins used these 2 turns to summon a bunch more magma kids. He's got a bunch of cave grubs. It looks like his pretender has woken up. If it wasn't already awake, I forget. Blood Surge, Enchanted Blood, Strength +2, and Blur. Might have been dormant. And yeah, he summoned a bunch of stuff back in here, so very active cap defense. You do love to see it. And this is one of my least favorite things where the archers don't take into account the tower shield effect of walls, so they love shooting at wall archers and not doing anything. I would much rather they be even move forward a little bit and try to target these magma kids, or maybe target these defenders of the hall. This is a lot of magma kids. What I was told was, and I don't know if I was being fed information, but it was that Scalaria had provided fire gems. So we'll see if I can overcome this, and then maybe I can do some diplomatic maneuverings of my own. So while that's going on back there, we do have the mages back here. I will rewatch this again and we can see how the mages do under foul vapors. There we go. Maybe that's a better view. These banishments are huge. We're starting to break in a little bit. Now, something that we have been doing is we've been hitting a lot of these cave grubs with the carrion seed effect. So our archers did eventually target these cave grubs, which is great because they're very large, so they'll turn into large mannequins when they die. So killing these is why you're seeing these, carrion bears popping up in random spots. And we also get some of these carrion beasts, which are pretty cool. A little bit of a unique, because you can't free spawn these, so pretty cool. Almost broken through. There we go. And the nice thing is a lot of these carrion-seeded guys just turn into more stuff behind the gate as soon as we kill them. Now the real shame is when you do stuff like get these carrion giants on the walls, you don't get to keep them. I would love if so many things weren't temporary like that. Because I think it's a lot more thematic. Alright, so we did manage to fatigue out the crystal. It is inanimate, so I guess it fatigued itself out. Sleep vines won't fatigue it out. But we are doing our best to try and kill it as quickly as possible. It does have a, is it the sword effect going around it, so we are going to lose some stuff even while it's asleep. Meanwhile, on the walls, we're still trying to get these guys, and unfortunately they have not routed yet, so they're still throwing their boulders. At least it is completely harassed down, but we've still got to chew through 300 HP. I think we can speed it up now. Alright, and we do eventually work it down and kill it. And we've defeated Agartha at horrendous cost. So we lose another almost 400, including all 7 of our carrion behemoths. We lose 18 of our 38 Sagittarian carcasses, which are, that's pretty replaceable. We do lose 28 carrion furies. That is a big loss. Carrion furies will become the backbone of our eventual armies. So, 40 is a pretty solid backbone, but 12 is not. So we're going to have to hope we start spawning some more. But they were absolutely essential for killing the crystal soul. Alright, and I did promise that we'd watch this one again to see how Foul Vapors did against the mages. I will say I found this battle with Foul Vapors extremely disappointing. So yeah, I don't think Foul Vapors killed anyone. And I was kind of relying on it too, so I was extremely disappointed. Alright, so let's go ahead and view the other battles really quick. So we've got Abyssia attacking Shinyama. We've got a bunch of Daibakemono here, all under a prophetized Shuten Doji. And it looks like the leadership got sniped immediately, so they ran. But a few of them, the Lava Warriors, are having their Berserker triggered, so they're gonna run in with their Fate Weaving, Unholy Weapons, Poison Resist, but they're gonna die isolated deaths. All right. So they lose their Salamander. They probably lose a bunch of stuff in the retreat, and they lose 8 Lava Warriors in this attack for 5 Daibakemono. Now, Daibakemono is 25 gold. Lava Warrior is 30 gold. Next up, we've got Nidavellir attacking Pythium in Marshlands. And it's just a little bit of PD, but it is a swamp, so he might lose some stuff to poison from running over the mushrooms. You can see one bursting there. Yeah, that already looks more effective than my Foul Vapors that I did. And that also didn't kill anyone. It does lose a Crow Clan Scout. Or I guess the Sethbrinder became a Crow. Or no, the Crow died and became a Sethbrinder. Okay, so that's what happened. So that's fine, still alive. Loses a Great Bear, 11 Long Dead, and 1 Nidbethad. And then we've got Naba storming Marignon, or I guess pinging it. And we see a bunch of these Knights of the Chalice, a bunch of crossbows. And then we've got the Baphomet Pretender with a bunch of fire and astral gems and a bunch of mages back here. And a lot of fire gems. Okay. We did catch some barbarian scouts. We get a gold event. So this is a Balin gold event. So more gold from Balin. Thank you, Balin. And for here, we need to protect this province from barbarians, so we're going to go ahead and move in some mannequins to deal with that. Barbarians are actually not that bad for mannequins because they're pretty low defense, and then once they go berserk, their defense gets lower. The barbarians do kill mannequins quite easily, but everything kills mannequins pretty easily. So for the mannequins being able to hit back and put them to sleep really quickly does help. All right, and then we've got Scout getting patrolled out. It's just by a large PD dump on this fort, which includes a bunch of Lady Knights. It is a Femini fort. And then Machaca ends up getting patrolled out by one of our armies. And that's way down here in Archytas, so I doubt we'll see another Machaca scout down there. All right, so we have finished our war against Agartha, so most of the army is going to go ahead and head up on out. We are furiously site searching, I think. Yeah, you can see we're definitely making some progress on that front. We're still recruiting Sinos out of here, hoping to get astral randoms. Help us break into that a little bit easier. And then, yeah, still waiting for this Triton attack. And we're gathering up in Mammoth Grove and Ebbis. All right. So I think that's it for this one. We're continuing to recruit, doing a lot of mage recruitment, especially dryads, continuing to make dreamstones. We're up to 1191 for research, and we're definitely making some progress on our site searching, which is also really good. But definitely more to be done there. And I think that's it for this turn, and I'll go ahead and go into turn 36. Oh, and this is indeed the turn. So now that we've finished that war, I'm going to send a message to Nidavellir. So we're going to go ahead and declare war. And this is because his main army is trying to commit to taking Pythium's cap. Machaca's already moved their army away. You can see it up here. So I'm thinking the timing would be he might move on to the cap, take a bunch of attrition. We have our war declaration on Nidavellir. And I think it would go pretty well. Honestly, I'm not sure if there's a whole lot he could do against the amount of stuff we would be bringing. And then Machaca would be forced to have, they would have to go finish off Pythium. And so they would have to move away from our border, or if they opt to help us, they're going to have to deal with Pythium trying to retake their land. So that was my thinking here. I was talking a little bit more with Pythium. Pythium seemed to be doing worse than Shinyama. Shinyama seemed to be slowly winning. So it didn't seem like I needed to come in and maybe declare an end to help Shinyama. I kept waiting for End to attack this fort because they had 300 troops. Shinyama only had 100. So I was a little confused why End wasn't pushing on Shinyama. That seemed weird to me. So, but yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for this. And then we're also, this is looking like Caleb's final effort to break the siege of this fort before it gets taken from them. So yeah, that's our thinking at this point is we want to declare on Nidavellir. And if we were able to take out both of these factions or take out one of them, it would really weaken future coalitions, I think, outside of Scaleria getting involved. So I think that's it for this turn. I'll go ahead and bring up turn 36. Okay, and I've got turn 36 pulled up. So we trade for a ton of glamour gems from Pythium, and I think we're doing a bunch of foraging for his Titan. We find a singing tree, which is 2 glamour gems, which is great. That gets us closer to 10 income, which is 2 dreamstones a turn. And we do get a big battle in Pythium, so let's go right to the main entertainment. So Pythium's attempting to hold outside the fort wall, which I really like. I really dislike taking battles inside of the wall. I think frequently that doesn't end up working out because your opponent can take their time. We've got a bunch of serpent cataphracts. We've got the Titan with some gear. And then... oh, I think maybe I sent the gear last turn, but they forgot to send the glamour gems. So they just sent it so that it arrived this turn. So I think the trade happened a turn or two ago to gear this Titan. So we've got a Ring of Regen, Black Steel full plate, and some other stuff. I forget which of this I forged. I don't think it was all of it, but... and then we've got a bunch of body ethereal being set up for these serpent cataphracts. Kind of like 2 different rows of stuff. And for Nidavinger, we've got a bunch of bears. We do have a fair amount of mage support. Looks like the death random apprentices that he's got, but we can kind of check. So with the Theurgs, we have a whole bunch of Theurgs with gems. And then we have a fair number of Wolf Clan, which are the Water 2s. They can help by doing stuff like quickness. We have a fair number of the apprentices, maybe for... well, it doesn't seem like they're set up for a magic duel. This one does. So maybe he wasn't expecting to take a fight outside the fort, where he's going to set up a small communion and use the Rune Smasher to maybe do some Soul Slay or Paralyze. He does have 2 Nid Hero Thugs with some kit. They've got a little bit of MR as well, along with GSSs. We've got this Crow Clan Seth Brender, who's twice born with a bunch of Astral Pearls. In fact, a few of them. So yeah, so we've got better mage support than what I was spotting. Some Bear Clan with Earth Gems. And yeah, we'll probably have to take a look back through here to see what all everyone was casting. But for now, I will go ahead and play the battle. Do have some magic duel going off. Sorry, just to show the impact of that. 2 of the Crow Clan are dead. 3 of the apprentices are dead. 2 of the Theurgs are dead. So 100% Pythium came out ahead in the magic duels. Alright. So, pretty big victory for Pythium. Does kill a few of these Crow Clan. I think they're marked as crows in this, rather than Crow Clan Sethbrenders. But it does kill a few of them. Kills a couple of the Nidhir thugs, 4 of the apprentices. Kills 102 Nidbethed. And 57 Great Bears. In exchange, he lost an assassin, 2 Theurgs. His Titan died. Lost about half of his Serpent Cataphracts, and his Communion burned out right towards the end of the battle. So it was a little bit interesting because I did a little bit of testing, and something interesting I found out is if you're playing a Communion nation and you're fighting Nidavellir, when it comes to, there's an interesting set of interactions, which I just said interesting like 3 times, but if you soul slay an Nidbethed, and we can see it throughout this battle, it kills a Scar Soul, but the Nidbethed, as long as they have more Scar Souls, continues to fight on. The more damaging way to kill Nidbethed, if you're an Astral Nation, is to cast Paralyze. Now, you can't make the off-script casting AI do more Paralyze unless they want to change the weightings on them. But what Paralyze does is it stuns the Nidbethed for 20 to 30 turns, and that stun lasts throughout Scar Souls. And so not only are you enabling your troops to kill that Nidbethed, but you're preventing that Nidbethed from doing any damage. So you can see the Nidbetheds here did 192. So Paralyze is a fantastic spell. Now, Soul Slay is preferenced in this case. I don't think he had the research for Enslaved Mind. So stealing the Nidbethed would be best. Soul Slay is the worst in this rare case. And Paralyze, out of Paralyze and Soul Slay, is the best in this rare case. Because stunning all these Nidbethed for 20 or 30 rounds when the battle only lasts 20 rounds would be a huge advantage. Because not only do you lessen your own attrition, but you're increasing the attrition on the opponent per set of fatigue. Because if you're spending 20 fatigue to kill 1 Scar Soul versus spending 20 fatigue to freeze all the Scar Souls while your army kills it, that's a pretty big difference. But nevertheless, still a fantastic victory for Pythium, especially when I'm thinking about fighting a war with Nidavellir. We can go ahead and watch this again. We'll try to keep an eye on the Titan this time. And maybe we'll also see what happened to certain mages and commanders. Alright, so has the Titan landed? Okay, so the Titan was on attack rear. So did summon Earth Power, Personal Iron Skin, Temper Armors, Flying Shield, Astral Shield. So it's got a pretty hefty set of buffs, 33 protection. Does have a limp, but also has generally pretty good stats. But unfortunately, it's fighting back here alone, and Nidavellir has left behind a number of Nidbethed on bodyguard duty. So I imagine it's just the volume of Nidbethed and fighting right in the enemy mage core that's going to do this Titan in. Yeah, so we see vine arrows. What's going on here? Now these temporary gems are coming from the mod that iFlight made. So a lot of Titan buffs in this mod. Pretty cool. He added a change list to the description for every Pretender chassis. All right, so the Titan goes down. A lot of really big hits, and I think we had one of the GSS thugs got pulled in here. So he's getting Righteous Wrath, so he's 30 attack for 40 damage. He's gonna absolutely wallop this poor Titan. So that was part of it. I didn't realize he had a sort of like golden sword, so maybe we can go find the other one. I think the other one might already be dead. We can check. Because I am curious. Nope, he's not dead. But he is fighting like crazy. So let's go see if we can find him. Oh, here he is, front and center, leading the other Ninbethed into battle. He's got 16 MR, 26 attack for 50 damage with his GSS, and that's all AP damage. So very scary Ninbethed. You can see those Scar Souls getting worked down. He's got one left, so he's about to die. And yeah, he's still only got 10 protection. There we go. So that was one of the thugs, and then I think we kind of saw how the rest of the battle went out. I suppose we can show the communion burning out. Alright, so here it is burning out right at the end of the battle, around 27. So there's a little bit of stuff. Now, I kind of wish when an enemy army was routed, your mages would take into account fatigue, unless there was something that was still fighting. Because I feel like that happens to a lot of communions, as they burn out at the end of the battle when the enemy is just running away. And it always feels bad. Because these are supposed to be your smarty pants mages, and they just don't even consider what they're doing to their nation when they burn out their communion slaves. So, all right. So we kind of saw all this. So that's the big battle for this particular turn. We've got a Nidavellir raid into Morn, though. And these troops would not have changed the outcome of the other battle. So pretty solid little raiding group. In Helpathria, we've got a twice-born Bakemono sorcerer who has quickness. So he's got a tremendous amount of combat speed. They snipe the mage again. They still have the warlord, though. This is very reminiscent of Faramir's charge in the Lord of the Rings movies. Just absolutely slaughtered. But it's probably just a small raiding group that happened to run into an army. And we've got Scaleria moving back onto Karnag. but there's nothing here. And then Calum moving to break the siege on his fort. So the biggest thing I noticed here is he's got a tremendous number of mammoths, but he's got all of his mages in a mage ball. I think all of these Air 2 mages should be spread out, putting Mist Form on different mammoths. The Seraphim doesn't matter quite as much. Now he does have death weapons, withering weapons for Bless. So maybe spreading them out could apply that effect over a wider area. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this scripting. I'd love to see all these Air 2 mages, all these Kalian Seraphs lined up with maybe both squads of mammoths trying to do Mistform buffing. Because I think that's what you're going to need to get these mammoths through all these skeletons and this horde of skeletons communion. Also, there's just a lot of kind of legionary troops in here. So he does get Mistform on 2 of the mammoths. And just to bring it up, his Titan is in the back, but it's ungeared. I tried trading with him to try and get him some gear, but he kind of put it off until next turn. So he's going to try and rely on Fire Shield. So the mammoths are already routing. Alright, and this battle is over. So the end result is the Pretender ended up actually routing, which was very... it makes a difference, especially when you go to find a sub. So a number of the priests died, but a few of them got away. A few of the Seraphs got away. Most of the troops died. He killed, I guess, a fair number of long dead and soulless. Didn't really make much progress into the enemy legionaries. Let's see. Yeah, like these Cystatus. So after this battle, the player unsubscribes from the game and says they're dead. But thankfully, they did not click Go AI. So we did find a sub. The sub is a pretty good player named Castronomical. So from here on out, after this turn, it's going to be the sub, except this turn in particular will be played by an intermediary because we don't have the password for Calum. So we're going to have an admin come in, change the password because I'm in this game and iFlight's in this game. So we call in someone else. They're going to go ahead and play the turn. If I remember right, it was Lucid. And reset the password so that Castronomical can take over. So big shout out to Castronomical for subbing into a very dead position. But in terms of communication, I am able to communicate with him at least a little bit easier. So we're going to start setting up some trades because the Titan did survive. And so pretty understandably, he's going to want some gear for said Titan. All right, so we do have a huge barbarian attack. We also get attacked by wolves. So lots of bad events. These barbarians go after Scalaria, though. Shouldn't have any troubles dealing with them. legionary infantry are pretty good at dealing with barbarians. So that is... Oh, I guess we're missing 2 of the fort stormings. So let me not skip those. I guess I almost skipped a really big battle. This maybe I should have done 2 1-turn episodes because this one's going to go pretty long. So we've got, I believe this is iFlight. We've got his big Nabaa army, a bunch of the Avium swordsmen. Now, I think the Avium swordsmen can do tremendously well in a siege, but you need the Mukarib numbers to paint body ethereal on them. Otherwise, it's probably better to get the longbow variant, but this can come out of just wanting the combat version for the raiding war. And then he's got a bunch of Janguard as well. And we've got a little bit of mage support. We have a big block of camels. Now, in terms of mages and support, we have a couple of Nabaa Hermit Zahirs with some fire gems, a couple with some earth gems. We've got a couple of GSS Janimirs, who are pretty cool because they come with their own thugging paths generally. We've got a few Malika. A couple of them have armor and are going to do probably some air elementals, is my guess, or thunder strike. We've got this one, maybe some fire elementals is the plan with this one. And then Marignon's doubled down with even more fire gems on these mages. So let's go ahead and see how this siege goes. Most of the birds are cleaned up now. Gate guard trying to hold the front line. As a reminder, the bless for Marignon, some resist, fate weaving, strength, and fire shield. Which they built that bless around killing me, so I'm glad I didn't border them. And Nabaa's bless, shock res, poison res, fire res, so just some really nice resistances. Never has to worry about painting poison res on the army because it's at +10. You know, unless you want to protect the Scales troops. And then some dark vision. Oh, and then I guess just to point out, we had both Janimir thugs jump into the back lines. So a pretty big defeat for Naba here. I believe the Marignon player is Frenzy. And they scored a pretty big victory here. Now, it does cost them. They lose 22 of their Knights of the Chalice, 4 of their Royal Guards, 31 crossbows, but they still have enough where they could think about maybe trying to break siege. We did have a firstborn of the Smokeless Flame come in and score 54 kills. So maybe we can rewatch it, seeing it, kind of tracking the thugs a little bit more. So he's back here. You see his buff script. Alright. So that was invulnerability, personal regen, elemental fortitude, skeletal body, personal mist form, and then you got a couple of buffs from the Carib, like temper armors. Interesting. He casts personal. I think he probably meant to cast Stone Skin on the firstborn, but it didn't go off. Maybe. So yeah, his natural protection isn't where it could be. But he's got 2 main gashas of parrying, 27 defense, 27 protection. Pretty nasty combatant. Now, what's doing these Jangard in, because they do have a fair amount of fire resist, are these Salamander Asp characters who do I guess they have a chance of doing 25 poison damage, armor negating, because it's a flame poison. Or maybe it counts as both. And so even though it gets resisted a bit, it is a tremendous amount of damage if they get hit by it. And then there's this guy doing 19. But this guy's only got 10 fire resist, so it should be 9 AP, which is not really going to hurt him. But these flame poison bites, extra effect on damage. It's armor piercing 1 damage, so they're also going to struggle to hit. But it's a lot of checks, and eventually something might get through. There we go. So we have what's probably a critical hit here because this guy was very high fatigue. I guess the halberdier came back and hit him, but then we've also got a couple of flame poison bites. So we get 9 points of poison damage. Yeah, reduced by some amount for the fire resist. And then I think they also had some poison resist from their bless, so they've also got 10 of that. All right, and then this guy, he's renamed Kirby Redson, because he's played a lot of Ubar and Naba. But yeah, this guy seems to be largely immune. He has 75 fire resist, 15 poison resist. So the flame poisons shouldn't be doing much to him, I don't think. He's got a tremendous amount of defense too. So unless he completely fatigues out, there's just not much that Marignon can do about him. I think that might have been a crossbow, though. Maybe that's a weak point. I thought we saw some red numbers come in. Maybe I'm just missing it. Also has 8 regen. Now he is at 97 fatigue. He's got melee encumbrance of 5. So not fatigue neutral. So probably the hits he is taking are critical hits for being fatigued out. We'll have to see if we can catch the next time he takes a hit. Alright, looks like we had a hit get through here. Yeah, so we've got armor defeating hit, 3 points of fire damage. So 0 points of damage capped. Is hit by the fire shield, armor defeating hit. Oh, so the Asp got hit by 3 points of damage, I think. There we go. Witch Hunter hit him with Stellar Cascades for 7 points. And that was also an armor defeating hit. But immediately regens that back up. So not much Marignan can do to kill this guy. And he's eventually just gonna... Ooh, those were some big chunks. But yeah, he's eventually gonna HP route. But we can see what hit him towards the end here. So a Word of Power for 4 points. So he is taking damage from mages. Gets hit by a Word of Power for 17. And a Word of Power for 16. So we have the, what is it, the MR check, then the damage, and then I think this is for a fatigue effect. Could double check really quick. Word of Power. So there's a check for the damage and then a check for a paralyze effect. So he's trying to save from the paralyze effect. That would be bad if he got paralyzed. He wouldn't be able to HP route with the army. Alright. So yeah, pretty expensive defeat for Nabaa. In terms of the gold loss, we're talking minimum 98 camels at 23 gold. So that's 2250 gold in camels, plus 18 times 40, plus 30 times 57, plus 100, plus 2 Janamirs at 420, so plus 840, and a Hermit Seer at, I think that was 175. So we're looking at 5,800 gold. Probably a little bit over that based on the +5 here. And Marignan definitely took some attrition, but they didn't take that much. So we've got, it says 70 times 22. So 1,500 gold in knights, a few hundred gold in crossbows. For Royal Guard, that's 200. So maybe 2,000. Yeah, so maybe 2,100 gold on Nabaa's side. So overall, a pretty efficient fight for Marignan. He might have enough to do this one more time, but think the player mostly considered himself dead after this point, probably because he was out of fire gems. We do get attacked by that barbarian horde. Let's go ahead and catch that. Oh, I need to watch the Kalem siege, but there's nothing inside, but we can still watch it. This one's gone so long, I'm starting to forget things that I started at the beginning of the episode. Alright, so we got skill area charging in. So the big issue here is potentially having your mages jumped on or the archers target your mages. Alright, so I think we can call this done. So it does kill 3 of the thaumaturgs. So that was some really nice snipes from the wall archers. And then we get attacked in Vath by some wolves. Yeah, I definitely should have split up these two, done these 2 turns independently. So we lose this PD. And then we go ahead and patrol out, or we get patrolled out in a few different spots. Do we survive? We lose 1 harpy, lose a 2nd harpy. Okay, so we lose 2 harpies. We gain some population, we get a terrain change. So that is here, which is great, because it's in the direction of the Throne of Water. So if we can get this one to turn into a forest, that would be fantastic. It lets us more easily defend it. We're also hoping for a forest in Namor. All right, so we've got our war declaration on Nidavellir, so we're getting in position for that. Starting to chat a little bit with, I think, him and the Machaka player, but we're still sort of negotiating on things. I'm also spreading out, so I'm getting my Triad Hags in position to help out and provide mage support. I'm getting the centaurs kind of spread evenly along the front. I'm not planning to send stuff into his territory ahead of the nap. It's not something I'm a huge fan of. I know most players do it, but I do consider it a sort of soft nap break to move stealthy units in during a nap. And other people can view it differently, but that's how I view it. So I will take that into account when I make agreements with you. All right, so a lot of moving of mages. We're forging a lot of dreamstones for all the glamour gems we got from Pythium. And so our research is down to about 964. We're hoping that it'll take a big jump next turn because we'll have more stuff in position. The nap will be counting down more. We're going to go ahead and empower Zan in air. He's going to be our Winds of Death caster. And we're forging a couple of skull staffs. I think we might be making a thistle mace. I'm not sure. Or we're thinking that we've got enough Foul Vapors casters already. In terms of our army graph, you can see that we're recovering from all the casualties we've suffered taking Balin's forts and fighting his armies. You know, we've been held in check for a long time. So next turn, I'm looking forward to seeing our army count go up. Nidavellir, regardless of what mages he has, this looks pretty indefensible. We should be able to roll through a lot of this very quickly. So this could be an extremely profitable war, although it does mean that we're going to have to fight Machaka. Machaka does have Firestorm, or is very close to it, because he's shown Bane Fire already. Nabad did have the good sense to leave a couple of troops on. sieging the fort, so he's just got to rally his stuff and move it back onto the fort. This night attack put his other fort under siege. Shinyama's still gaining ground on Abyssia. It looks like End is maybe holding back a bit. Doesn't seem to be pressing this fort very hard, so I guess leaving Abyssia out to dry a bit, because it did start as a 2v1. We do find that sub for Kalem, but it's looking very dire. Scalaria's on the move. And yeah, I think that's everything for this particular turn. So I'm mostly trying to get in position. My war plan, so to speak, is we're going to try to rush through Nidavellir as quickly as possible with almost everything we've got. I think I can take territory from Nidavellir faster than Menchaca can take it from me. And that would force Menchaca to fight on two fronts, because if we can get troops down here, then we can push into Menchacan territory. We don't necessarily have to take forts, we just have to put them under siege and keep them under siege, which is good because there's a lot of them. And then we can leave a series of traps here, so if he goes underground, one of the things that we're working on is Conjuration 6. We want to get an Earth King down there so that we can have earthquake traps underground, which should be pretty effective against just about everything. And then we can do Foul Vapors traps and try to take some fights over here if needed. Our other trump card is our Bless, is finally about to wake up probably. So it's turn 36. We've got our temple here, and you can see that unholy weapons will wake up. So right now we've got a Blood Surge, Righteous Wrath, Awareness, Defense Skill +7, and Fire Resistance +5+. Once Unholy Weapons wakes up, that means all of our Sacred Troops, the Centaur with their 2 attacks, they get Unholy Weapons procs, but all of our Sacred Undead with their Sleep Vines, they get to proc Unholy Weapons on each Sleep Vines hit. So we're very much looking forward to that. It looks like we're unloading some nature into some more Carrion Centaurs, trying to rev that up a little bit right before the war. I think the idea is I'll wait a couple of turns to do the Thistle Maces so that I can rev up a little bit more Carrion reanimation. And yeah, we've got 3 Black Centaur. In terms of the stuff we've got 13 Panics, 64 Black Dryads, 20 of the Centaur Hierophants. They're really important for leading sacred raiding parties, so I do try to have a good number of them. We have 17 Dryad Hags meant for combat use. Our Dryad Mother, who's our Seducer. We've got 705 Mannequins, which is pretty nice. 90 of the Satyr Mannequins, they have the higher MR. A whole bunch of Carrion for raiding and flanking. 81 Black Centaur, who are the core power base of our army at the moment, along with the 43 Carrion Furies. And we have 83 Sagittarian Carcasses to try and make up light losses using the Carrion Seed effect. And a very small number of Carrion Behemoths, because most of them have died taking forts so far. So I think that's it for this one. We're at well over an hour. I should not have done this turn. I should have done this turn all by itself, but I guess you guys get a particularly long episode. I'll see you guys in turn 37. Have a good one. Bye.